Welcome back. It's the Jeremy Mills Podcast, and today we are joined by Rachi Wortham.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
No question.
You came from a tough place around a lot of tough things, so can you just kind of go into that a little bit?
Sure. I grew up in a neighborhood called Hilltop in Tacoma, and at the time, the Hilltop was the worst neighborhood in the worst area of Tacoma. But on top of that, probably had the most murders per capita in the 90s for its size. But in the Northwest, had never seen a block that I lived on like that. I got that one video that you saw was of 3 guys who basically did a murder, and one of them pulled the trigger and 3 of them got for it. And so long story short is the one that they said pulled the hit was my niece's dad, and his name is Andre Parker. He's actually doing really good things inside the jail. He's helping youth in Seattle right now, trying to help them stay out of the system. But my niece has never seen her father outside of the jail system.
Just an initial question: what do you take from being close with those people? And I don't want to say those people being like they're any different than anybody else.
Right,
but,
they're just people, yeah.
Coming from, there's different things that they're into. You know, this is associated with murder, probably other sorts of crime, I imagine. What do you think you understand about that people outside don't?
First, I appreciate and I love those people. Like, they made bad decisions, but it doesn't change the relationship that I had with them. What I do know is relationship is real. Regardless to how you look at somebody and say, "Oh, that person's a murderer." I do think they made bad decisions. Whatever society says they did or they really did, that's their kind of prerogative, and hopefully we find out what really happened. But I don't judge them for their situation. That was one situation, and like I said, he's doing stuff inside the facility to be able to help young adults not make the same decision. So everybody has to learn from their mistakes.
So when people think of gang members, it's in your mind or in some people's mind, it's just constant crime, constant doing bad things. Is that not the experience that you had? You weren't in those gangs necessarily, but you were around it, and I'm sure you saw what happens day to day. And
in some regards, things happen. Like another neighborhood will come shoot your neighborhood, and then more people will want to join the gang because of situations like that. But like every situation, every single person is different. Most people just grow up in it, and their uncles and their cousins, their dads are gang members, and so that's the path they see, and that's what they want to do. But for me, I grew up in it. My cousins were in the gangs, and it just depends on who you are. Basketball governed what I did for the most part. And the block I lived on was blocked off by the city of Tacoma and the National Guard. Literally a busy road that was blocked off. And I got some photos that you can show, but it was a busy street, 19th and L, and you couldn't turn left onto the block anymore because of too many drive-by and too many murders. And I say that because all it is decisions that you make. Like for me, I decided that I wasn't going to be a gang member. Those are my dudes. I appreciate and I love them. Before they were in the gangs, we were dudes. We played basketball at the Boys and Girls Club in the community center. We laugh and joke still, but I choose not to do what they do. And I'm not mad at that. This is your life. This is what you choose. I'll tell you that I don't think that's what you should do, but if that's the decision you're going to make it. That's not, and I'm not saying it's okay, but that's what the life you're going to live. You're going to have to deal with the consequences.
And what and when, like what in you and when made you not join that?
So my cousin was 16 years old, and I was 15, and he had a situation where he got in trouble with the police, and he committed a murder, and he got booked, and it scared the living lights out of me. I was scared straight. Not that I was ever a troublemaker, because I wasn't. They would go do things, and I would just say, I'm not doing that. I would just like that. Y'all could do whatever y'all want to do, but I'm not going with you. I'm not doing that. And I'd much rather play basketball. It was an outlet for me. I never had a dad in my life. My coaches and my granddad were my father figures, and so basketball ended up governing my life. And if I need to do this in school, I'm going to do this so I can play basketball. If I need to get this on the test, I'm going to get this so I can play basketball. That's who I was. And the Boys and Girls Club and the community center were very instrumental in helping me do that.
Interesting. So it's what I think about kept me, in the right path is for some reason just not wanting to disappoint my grandma or not, you have those people, but so many times it's basketball. Obviously, is it just the community around it? Initially, it's just the game,
What do you mean? The game of basketball?
You love that, but also is it then you understand the community of it, and that's what really keeps you there and keeps you fighting to do well? Or is it just literally like you're the kid that loves basketball?
It was a couple things. So basketball, it raised me. Like, without it, I wouldn't, you know how people say, oh, I wouldn't be here. I literally would not be here right now. If I didn't have the community center and the Boys and Girls Club to go play basketball at every single day, it was 2 blocks away. And sometimes people told me I can't walk there. I need to get a ride there, 2 blocks away. They said there's too much going on. You need to go a different route. But it was so instrumental in teaching me discipline. It was so instrumental in helping me become more confident. It was so instrumental in so many different ways that I can't even explain. When I say this, I can't explain to some people how it helped me. It helped me. And the people around it, the relationships that I got, everybody in my wedding had to do with basketball or athletics. Like every single person in my wedding, I played it with at the Boys and Girls Club. Every one of them. Crazy, right? Like, and basketball was the mainstay for me to be able to go to the Boys and Girls Club. But that place was instrumental in raising me. My mom and my uncles and my grandma, they did a great job. My grandparents did a great job. But what's real is real. Is I went there and I put in time and effort, and I was never a very good basketball player. I just wasn't. But my competitive spirit wouldn't let me lose. The losing piece wasn't in it. But I felt a sense of pride, especially for my neighborhood. When we got to travel as a neighborhood and go play other neighborhoods. Al Davies Boys and Girls Club was our neighborhood. Those were the kids that came up until I was like in 7th grade. It was all kids from my neighborhood. And then other people, we had some success, so other people started coming in. But it was about neighborhood for me.
And that competitive drive that you talk about, something that Arvin Mosley tipped me off about you.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Did that ever get you in trouble as a young man, one? And did you have to ever learn how to channel that in the right way?
I didn't get in a lot of trouble. Let's just say that. I got in some my trouble was different than others. Like, people in my neighborhood were getting in really, really strong trouble at 12, 14, 15, 16 years old. And so I didn't get in trouble. Like, I got in a couple fights at school, and I got in-school suspension. I got suspended out of school. But, like, I love them to death. My sister right under me, she was the troublemaker in our family, and she's the smartest out of all of us. She's the brightest out of all of us. I got an older sister who used to work for the government. Like, she's really smart, but the one under me doesn't even have to try in school, and so she was sneaky, and so she got in more trouble than I did. So mom focused most of her time on her.
And just being the people you were around, you know, talking about not agreeing with everything they did. How much of that did you just learn from them every day? Were you thinking of that?
All of it. It just depends on who you are. But, like, I watch people. I watch how they operate, and I watch how they move. And so I saw who the leaders were. I saw who the followers were. But here's the thing. People join the gang, and then they think they're somebody. Bro, you were a punk before. You're a punk now. Like, you're a basketball player. Now you're a gang member. That doesn't make you tough. Like, you were a football player. Now you're a gang member. That doesn't make you tough. It's crazy how people change when they think, oh, now I got this sense of community, or they get humbled and real quiet, and they can't be the same person that they thought they were because there's older dudes that are governing what they do. And so for me, I didn't want that in my life. I wanted to be able to do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it, but I use this basketball as a tool to help me travel the world.
Was that why you think that people join those gangs, were to, I don't know, feel the powerful? Or
at times, some people, yeah. Everybody has a different situation, right? Like, some people grow up into what I said, like the family members, but some want to be taken care of. Some need family. Some need assurance. Like, it just depends on the person. Everybody's different, but a lot of times in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was your family that made you join the gang. Not made you join the gang, but it was the reason you joined the gang.
Before we get too into it, I just have to say you were the best dressed guest I've ever had on here. Respect on that.
I just got back from talking to some kids in the Avid program and down south, so I appreciate that. Thanks.
That's awesome. I was like, man, do I need to change before this all gets going here?
Get your swag right.
Yeah, right. How would you talk to a person who's still caught up in that life, that wants to get out or wants to make a change or wants to be like you and get a college degree, turn your life around is the right way to say it, but just, make yourself proud?
First, I always ask them, what do you get out of this? What does this do for you? What does being in a gang do for you? And then you see what their question is and kind of show them. But then you also talk about people that have been there before and what they've done. I got a friend named Marcus White who did years in the penitentiary I grew up with. Now he's buying and selling homes and fresh out of jail. Like, I think he's 3 years out. He was doing construction, building. He bought his own home. Now he's buying and selling homes, like doing real work in the community. I'm doing a camp in Christmas, and he's going to come speak to kids about opportunities, man, and how he blew his opportunities, and now he's trying to do a new one. So you have to explain to the kids how they can be successful, and you have to show them as well, because people are like, oh, yeah, I want to get out of the gang, but that's all I know. Nah, you can get out, and here's somebody who did it, and this is what he's doing. And you think people that that are still in the gang think he's a punk, they know he's not a punk. They know he was a beast in prison. They know he's a beast on the streets, and he doesn't have to be gangbanging anymore. And I'm not telling all those guys, stop gangbanging. This is your life. If that's what you want to do, do it. But where's it going to take you? The tough, real tough guys go to jail or they end up in hell. That's it. Those are the real tough guys. I tried to not even act like I was that guy, because in my neighborhood there was real ones, real tough ones.
Just coming from where I come from, it's an opportunity. I don't get to ask someone who's seen that stuff very often. So I appreciate your insight and honesty. And I think the only other question I have kind of related to that is there ever a time where you drew the line and just weren't friends with people because of what they did or who they associated with?
What's crazy is I don't ever remember a friend like, oh, he's a gang member now, so I can't kick with him. Like, I can't hang out with him. Like, well, we were boys together, like young boys together before you joined the gang. And so those guys are my friends. They're like legit still my friends. When I see them out, what's good? How you doing? What's going on? I hope your kids are good. But we think differently. I'm trying to help your kid. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to help your kid get out of this situation long term. I teach the kids that government will pay for you to go to college. Everybody wants to give money, free money. So you tell them that, like, oh man, well, maybe I can't go to college, right? They start thinking. And so, but those guys are happy for me that I didn't. And in hindsight, I had two guys that were instrumental, gang members that were instrumental in telling me, just keep hooping. And every time I see them, I tell them, man, I appreciate you. Because they were original gang members. Real life gangbangers. Did prison time, did stuff on the streets, did stuff on the block I lived on. And they always told me, hey man, if you need something, I got you. And so those are real life stories that I know come firsthand. You hear about them on TV, but I really lived that.
Was it really important to you to not, just associate with people that you 100% agree with? And does it give you insight into other parts of your life? Maybe the people you associate with, you don't 100% agree with everything, but you're friends with when you see these good parts of them and you understand that just because they think one way or they like this one thing, they're not necessarily, that's not their identity. That's, they're still a good person around that.
It's a hard question. That's a hard question, loaded question. But I always say, if I have a relationship and it's a real relationship, I can't judge you off how he treats you or how you treat him. Like, you treat me good, we're good, right? Like, as long as we're not riding together and you're trying to pull something fast and I'm gonna get in trouble, we're good. Like, that's not what I'm into. I don't live like that. I'm trying to help kids, and if you're gonna put me in a situation like that, you're really not my buddy. We're not friends. So they know and when I say they know, I mean, these are dudes that I love, that I appreciate. And so I'm not saying, oh, they're gang members, so no. Those are my family. Those are dudes I really, really hang out with, and I just don't do what they do. We're just different in that regard when it comes to doing it. And they respect me in the regard that I have done what I've done, and then they know I'm trying to give back, so they don't bring that around me.
You mentioned what you've done and how you're giving back. It's an easy way to gloss over a huge thing that you're doing and decision you made in your life. Can you let the people in on your opportunity at Montana?
Sure, I got you.
Everything like that.
So I've been blessed in basketball. I told you that over and over. But when I was fresh out of college, I coached at Eastern Washington University. 4 years. It was great. I was one of the youngest recruiting coordinators in the country. And then my wife and I made a decision. We're going to have a little fella. And we ended up moving back here and had a little fella. And now he's 7. His name's Joaquin. And I love Joaquin. My wife, Lisa. Shout out, no question. Joaquin Rachi. Yeah, no question. And then I helped run a program with Chris Spivey called Team Access, and it stands for Academics, Character, and Competence equals Success and Stability. And people always say, oh, yeah, we got a 501c3 and we do community service. And these kids had to do community service. They had to do work. But let's just say this. Some of it is documented on the internet, and for me, it was just the right thing to do. Every Sunday, we did free workouts for 4 years, and we probably missed 5 Sundays. And at free, from 5 years old all the way through college. And we would have, I got photos of this too, we would have 120 kids show up, and they're like, what are we going to do? And so we end up using a YMCA at the downtown called Tacoma Center, and we split up all the kids. So some of them will go to like a room with cycling, and they do bicycling for 20 minutes. Some of them go, we had a guy named Emmett Linton who used to be the WBO World Boxing Champion, came and did footwork with the kids. We had another guy who was doing core work with them, and so they just rotate. And so you get like an hour on the court, but the rest of it was working on your body and your mind. And so if I have skills that I can't give back to my community, it's a problem. And so I did Tacoma Center specifically, the Tacoma Center YMCA. Not that I did it, but Chris Spivey runs all the youth programs at the Y, and I connected with him. But it was good for me because that's where I first went to late night and had a late night program to keep us off the streets. But the one catch to the late night program is you couldn't walk. And so the late night program was like, I lived on 18th and L, and it was on 13th and Market, which is like, I don't know, 12 blocks, 15 blocks. There's no walking. Like, you have to get a ride somehow, some way. And so it was frustrating, but we had a young life leader who used to come pick us all up and take us to late night. So we were blessed. I was so blessed to be able to have opportunities, man, like that. But if I got tools and I don't give them back to these kids, it's a problem with me. And I think my mom had her issues. Like, she had her issues, but she always spoke into us, do as I say, not as I do. And so she helped us to be able to realize where we came from and what we had and opportunities that are ahead of us to be able to give back. So blessed in that regard.
And it's one thing to talk about it, but to actually spend the time and be about it and do about it like you do.
No doubt.
Where do you think that initially comes from?
Man, you know, it's crazy. I was just talking to these kids about decisions, and I knew, when I say this, I knew I was going to be able to leave my community one day and come back and help. I knew it. I don't know how. I don't know why. But I'm like, bro, I'm going to be able to help this community for sure, 100%. And so after I did the Access program, which is now it's taken over. Washington Supreme is the program now, and it's an Under Armour team. And so our kids that played for Team Access moved on and played for Washington Supreme, which is run by Carl Howe. But then from there, I went to Oregon State, and from Oregon State, I went to Montana, and we had some successful years at both, and played in the first tournament, I think in 26 years at Oregon State, NCAA tournament, and then went to Montana. We won the league twice, back-to-back. Won the tournament twice back-to-back, and then we played Michigan twice in a row. And so two of the most successful years in Montana history. I don't know about the most, but Montana's had a lot of success.
Huge, yeah.
But I mean, Travis is a beast, and Coach DeCure he's going to continue to win. He runs a system that's going to be successful long term.
And he sounds like he was pretty inspirational to you because he was also your AAU coach.
He was my AAU coach
back in the day,
yeah.
And it seems like he, from what I'm understanding, maybe inspired what you're doing now with telling kids, showing kids that they, can go to school and further their education.
Mm-hmm. I think he gave me an opportunity, and the story is crazy. So at Foss High School, we have 5-6 really good freshmen when I came in my freshman year. 4 of them played varsity. I didn't. I played junior varsity. And me and another guy played junior varsity. Anyways, Travis wanted to start an AAU team. So he comes to Foss High School, and I guess the 4 that were on varsity got invited to the tryouts. I didn't even know. I wasn't invited, but I showed up to the tryouts. And we try out. He's got some kids from Mercer Island, some kids from Seattle, and then our Boys and Girls Club only goes up to 8th grade. Then after 8th grade, you got to figure out where you're going to go. We had no teams to go to. We had no way to travel, none of that. So when Travis brought this team, I come to the tryouts. I guess I didn't make the team. But he didn't tell me I didn't make the team, so I just kept showing up, right? And so he had 12 spots. I ended up being the 13th guy. He just told me this 3 years ago. I didn't even know this my whole entire life. So we go and play Tyson Chandler's team in, 96, 97 in the Slam and Jam. And he's 6'8", and I'm 5'8". And he's playing point guard, and I'm guarding him in the national championship in Slam and Jam. And I didn't even know I wasn't even supposed to be on the team. But Travis he told me that, man, you kept coming, you kept doing the right stuff, and you kept telling, every time I said something, you kept telling those guys the exact same thing. So there was a spot for you. I ended up starting on that team. And I know this. I know unequivocally. I've never been the best player. I've never made an all-star team. But when it was coming to diving on the floor, taking the charge, being vocal, doing what the coach says to do, I was going to do all those. And so it's a testament to the people in my community that raised me, because it was more than just mom, granddad, grandpa, because those coaches helped raise me. The people at the Boys and Girls Club, the community center, the gang members that wouldn't let me be gang members helped me in that regard. So,
why were they effective, do you think? Because there's people that probably tried to help, but maybe you didn't connect with, or it didn't work as well as the people who did eventually get through to you.
Well, I wanted more for me. Like, I knew there was no way to do exactly what everybody else was doing in the neighborhood and have more for me. And whatever more looks like I wanted to be able to get out and give back. If people in the community, the coaches are giving back. Those are the people who love basketball. They don't get paid. They lose money. Those AAU coaches, They love basketball. They love kids. But I can't tell you why it was successful. I don't know. All I knew inside of me, with everything I had, I was having an opportunity to coach college basketball, to get out of my neighborhood and be able to give back, and it's happening. And I thank God every day for it.
So for the people, you were coaching college basketball, and then you make a decision to.
This is crazy, but there's only like 3 people that knew that I was just gonna I'm done coaching college basketball. This is probably like.
Because it weren't like you were
February?
like you said, you weren't unsuccessful. You were.
Yeah, we had
in line
pretty good
for
success.
a lot of things.
Yeah, we had pretty good success. But I just like basketball governs your life. When you're coaching college basketball, it runs your life. And somebody you had on before, Alvin Snow, I talk to all the time. He's a beast in this basketball world. People trust and believe in. But I grew up playing against him. He was one of my rivals. Al Davies Boys and Girls Club against CAYA. He was the best player, hands down. And then in high school, his team was really good. My team was pretty good. And so we had a collision course that was supposed to happen in the playoffs. It ended up being crazy, but it was supposed to be they said, quote unquote, Garfield and Franklin in the state championship, and they both lost in the semis. So Bethel beat Franklin and we beat Garfield, and so we played Bethel in the state championship. But it could have been Garfield Franklin, or it could have been Foster Franklin, it could have been Bethel Garfield. And so long story short, with Alvin, I ended up following him to Eastern Washington, I should say. He was already at Eastern Washington. And I ended up going to University of Alabama, Tacoma Community College, Eastern Washington. And I didn't know. I knew Alvin, but I didn't know Alvin. All Alvin wants to do is win. That's who he is. That's all he wants to do. All he wants people around him to do is win.
And he's always been that way?
I didn't know that. I knew this. He was tougher than everybody else. And that's what I couldn't let him do, is out-tough me. Like, his mind, his body, he was willing to give it all up for basketball. And he is still, right today, if you go play with him, he's willing to give it all up. And he's fresh off Achilles a few years ago and trying to get in shape and all. He's like, bro, I'll do it whatever to win this game. And when I was at Eastern Washington, I saw it firsthand every single day. And anybody who ever coached him or has played with him, they'll say that. With that, yes. I was saying, I talk to him every day about, man, I think I'm going to be done coaching college basketball. He's like, what you going to do? It's God's plan. It's God's plan. Honest to God. I don't know. But I think at this point, I'll be done coaching college basketball. And he goes, well, why? I said, you know what? Because my why is different than what college basketball is. I want to affect young men, but I can only affect 15 at a time. Yes, you can have your community events. You can go to talk to school, but young people, they need stories like mine. They need people that really care like I do. They need people that are willing to pat them on the butt, but be stern as well. And I'm that. Like, if you're disrespecting an adult, especially in front of me, we're not. I don't care how old. You could be 18 years old. We're not doing that. You're talking crazy to your mom. I don't. If I know you or not, we're not disrespecting your mom. You're not doing that in front of me. And so, kids thrive in structure, and I'm all about giving kids structure. They thrive in it. They want it. They act like they don't, but they do.
When you made that decision, did you face any doubts from people that were close to you, or doubts?
So many people ask me, like, "Why would you do that? You guys are next up. Montana's killing it." But killing what? Like, what are we really doing? You're coaching college basketball, which is great. It's phenomenal. And people see it, and they love it, and they're cheering for you. But really, what do you want for yourself? Like, who are you at the grand scheme of things? Who are you? And so I really had to ask myself that, like, is this really what I want for the rest of my life? And I love college basketball. I'm not saying I wouldn't coach college basketball again, but at this point, I can affect more kids right now doing what I'm doing, which is great. So,
and what age were you when you made that decision?
To do what?
To come back and help kids with school.
37. This summer. Wow. I just stopped coaching.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yeah. Wow. And Travis DeCure, he was so gracious with the way he and I went out. We didn't have no arguments with it. I was like, Trav, I'm leaving. He's like, man, okay. I respect it. And so he's like, let me know if there's anything I could do. Actually, I was texting him today about our families and stuff, and we just got a puppy, and he's got a puppy. And so he's reloaded rather quickly, and they're going to win. I don't know if they'll win the league. There's other teams in the league, Eastern Washington, Weber State. They're going to be really good teams, and Portland State. And I don't want to step on nobody else's toes, but they'll have some good teams in that league this year.
So what is the goal now that you've made this decision? It's a fresh decision, way more fresh than I realized. But if you had to sum it up, what is the goal? What do you
to affect as many lives as I can right now? It's not up to me. It's not like my life and your life and whatever. Like it's God's plan. That's how I really feel. I really feel like that. Like I'm not this great Bible thumper. I'm not. Like I love Christ and all that, but like when it's all said and done, you live your path, and that dash in the middle is what you did for people and the relationships you built. And people are gonna say, "Oh, he was such a great dude," or man, oh yeah, he's going to heaven, but he's really not going to heaven. They think that, I mean, when they bury you. And so I want people like, man, hey, he affected these kids, and these kids learned something, they had opportunities, and he really tried to make good men and women. And so hopefully I do that.
So day to day, what is it like for you now?
Different, but you know what's great is I get to spend way more time with my son, bro. Like, it's incredible. I got a 7-year-old boy, and he loves sports, and I wasn't able to spend time with him. I wasn't able to. I don't even necessarily want to coach him. Like, I want to encourage him, and I want to be able to speak life into him and say, hey, man, great job on your spelling test, and really be able to go over the spelling words with him all day, every day, and be able to say, okay, coach taught you this soccer move. Let's do this soccer move. I don't know what it's called, but let's do it. Coach taught it. And so the other thing is now that I'm back in the community, I can work out a bunch of different guys. I'm not a workout guy. I'm a coach. I always tell them that. But I can work out a bunch of different guys and have fun with the game. Not let the game dominate me. I can choose who I want to work out with. Or I can just go spend my time with the youth programs and say, hey, I'm going here. Let's just work. Like guys like Mosley, he and I are going to collab, and we're going to do a bunch of different things to help the community.
Wow. And what about school is so important to you?
I don't even want to say school. It's not even just about school, because for kids to go, you have to go through school anyways. You have to do school. So God didn't make you to be average. He made you to be something. And so what are you going to do with that? And so I tell people there's F's or E's, whatever you want to say, and then there's A's, and in the middle is a C. And so if you want to be average, get C's. Oh, C's are passed and C's get degrees. I get it. And if that's what you want to be that. But if you're an A student and you let yourself get C's, you're not working very hard. And so I try to inspire that in kids, and hopefully one of them, two of them can grasp on it and say, hey, man, somebody gave me a word that helped me long term. That's the goal, and that's really the goal. I want kids to be able to see bigger in their neighborhood, because a lot of people can't. In Seattle, in New York, in Florida, wherever, I mean, United States, even in Africa, kids can't see beyond their neighborhood, their street. Some people can't, you know. Some people in let's say Tacoma have never seen the Space Needle. Some people in Seattle have never drove to Tacoma. They've never been able to see that because they can't afford it. They don't have those resources to get that. I want to be able to tell kids it's way bigger than Seattle, Tacoma. Federal Way. Like it's way bigger than these neighborhoods. The world is huge. And how many lives can you affect every single day? Right? Just inspire them. Even if it's just your words. That's what I want to do. I want to try at least to use my words, because I've seen a lot of things that most kids haven't seen. So be able to use that. And then basketball is just a tool to take you wherever you can get if you're lucky enough.
Do you feel a different kind of success, or not success? Do you feel a different kind of fulfillment doing this than you did coaching?
Yes and no. Yes, different for sure. But I've done it before. When I was back in the area, I was a youth director at the YMCA, so I was affecting kids every single day. But the biggest thing I can say right now is that my mind's right about it, and my son is benefiting from it. My son's benefiting from it. I get to just speak life into him. And so when I was at the Y, he was young. He was like 1 or 2. And so that makes it harder to be able to speak life into a 1 or 2 year old. But now he's 7. He understands every single thing. He watches me do it. And so when we pull up to a light and there's a homeless person and we really donate money, and he's like, Dad, do you do it every time? I'm like, nah, I don't do it every time. But if I'm at a light and there's a person right there and I got it, I'm going to try to do it. Because it's like, you never know what that person's going through. But whatever he or she's going through, God's going to deal with him, not me. Know that.
In 5 years, so this is the beginning of the journey, 5 years, where do you want to be? That's a pretty open-ended question and
of course.
General, but
affecting change. I can't tell you where I haven't written my goals down, so I'm dreaming right now. I always tell kids that if you don't write your goals down, you're dreaming, and you write it down, then it becomes a goal. And so 2 goals that I had when I was a kid, this is at Young Life in 7th grade. 2 goals. The first 2 goals were to win a state championship. The second goal was to play basketball at Duke. Here's the third one. It's funny. I was literally at the Avid deal talking about the 3 goals today, but be a college basketball coach. And so I hit 2 of the 3. Krzyzewski didn't think I was good enough. He didn't even know who I was and all that stuff. So I really shot for the stars, and man, I was lucky to be able to get there. To those 2, like 2 of the 3 is big. I mean, that was 7th grade, and my Young Life leader's name is Chad Davidson. And he's a administrator in the Enumclaw School District. If people don't believe me, they can email him. It's real.
And how will you gauge success in these next 5 years with affecting people? Is it just the time that you spend? You may be the only person that can judge that.
Exactly.
Or?
That's what I'm not the person who judged. There's a guy upstairs that's going to judge all that. And I'm not trying to act like, oh, I'm this pastor. I'm not. But like when your heart's right and you just do the right stuff, it usually pays off. You get dividends and people start having success around you. And I've been lucky that our program that we started, Team Access, had a lot of kids go to college. That's all. I didn't want anything from that. Zero. My wife and I lost money doing that, literally. Spivey's wife and him, they lost a lot of money doing that. I'm sure these coaches that I say love AAU and love basketball, they lose money all the time doing this. So it's not that you're gaining money or you're getting something from these kids. You might think you're going to get something, but how many kids are going to make it? I read today, I think, I forget who put it, 0.00019% of kids make it to the NBA. Or 19 or 9-1. Come on, man. To the NBA? It's crazy, right?
Right.
So.
And if you had to speak to the Seattle basketball community out there and just say one thing, what would it be? It's a place that affects so many people in so many different ways. I don't want to say Seattle. I want to say Seattle Tacoma.
Yeah, no
also.
question. Seattle. Let me just say this first and foremost: Seattle kills it in basketball. I'll be all the way honest. I'm a realist. They kill it in basketball, but you know what's good about them is they got guys in their community that really have done it and really have helped and really didn't want anything. They just did it because it was the right thing to do. And so I respect that. There's a guy named Daryl Hennings that has run Rotary Boys and Girls Club, and I remember this clear as day. I was 15 years old, and my Boys and Girls Club had just stopped having basketball. You can ask Daryl. I told him, don't ever stop doing what you're doing. Your Boys and Girls Club needs it. Your community needs it, bro. You ask Daryl Hennings, if you ever see him, you ever get that chance, he'd be a perfect person to have on here. He's a beast, man. But they got guys in the community like him that really care, like Snow, like that really care about these kids. And so I want to be that where I'm from. Like, and I feel like I have been. I tell them the truth. I try to help all the guys that are playing, but if you call me and you ask me what I think and I tell you and you're mad at me, then we can't have a good relationship because I'm who I am. I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to just tell you. And so if you can't shoot, you can't shoot. You got to fix it. Work on it. If you can't use your left hand, you can't use your left hand. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But are you willing to help them? And I feel like for the most part, I've been willing to help kids. So I've been lucky in that regard.
Sounds like it. And it's amazing to have you in the community. It's another person that's a pillar that people can look to. And I think you're affected because, like you said, you were there and you were that kid once. And
I was that kid.
And they can see that. And so I'm excited to see where you go from here and excited to see, 6 months down the road where you're at, have you back on and
I'm with it.
Chat about it.
Hey, a lot of guys say that. Have me back on. I'll be here.
Okay.
Just like the first time what happened.
You were here. That's awesome. And that's, the greatest ability is availability.
No question.
So I appreciate you coming on.
No doubt. Appreciate you having me.
And just thank you for what you do for the community.
Likewise. You're doing big things for this community. I know people get a chance to voice their basketball minds, and there's a lot of basketball minds, and there's people in the community that are not just basketball. They're more than just basketball. And so you're able to see this because guys like Jamal Crawford, guys like Alvin Snow, you see is basketball. Everybody's like, oh, they do basketball, but they're way more than just basketball. So It's awesome.
And it's real. And that's one thing I try not to say is the word real because I've said it so much. But that's what it is. It's the real time that they put in and just the real way they treat people.
But you know what's crazy about this basketball world is everybody's like, oh, just come back. And people are like, well, I'm back. I donate my money. No, these dudes are actually donating their human, their person, their touch with these kids, their abilities, their minds. Like when you have that, then there's when success comes. And so that's what I want to be is I don't want to just be a basketball coach. Like, oh, he's a basketball coach. Like that, if I can coach college basketball and I'm that's what people see me as, great. But if I can be a resource where I'm doing basketball and I'm leading them to the water to drink for the long term, for the rest of their life, teaching them how to open up a bank, teach them how to buy a house, teach them how to buy a car, man, why would I not? You can do it with no money. People don't even know that you can have no money and do it. What? You can have no money to buy a house and a car? Like, so I'm doing a camp, and I want to have some resources for these campers like that one day. Not one day, real soon is coming.
I see people talk on Twitter a lot of, why don't they teach this in school? Why don't they teach that in school? And to see somebody put that to real action.
Watch, you'll see. And the another thing is to teach them how to write an envelope, to address an envelope.
Wow.
Man, kids don't even know how to address an envelope and where the stamp goes. If you just say, here, fill out this envelope, they don't know their address. I'm not lying. High school kids don't know their address because all they do is look at their phone and say, oh, here's my address, right? And so to be able to teach them those small tools that they have to have for the rest of their lives, nobody did that for me. The Boys and Girls Club was instrumental. We didn't have free camps. We didn't have free clinics. You know what we had? We had basketball, going to gym and hoop. That's what we had. And so to be able to really, we're doing a camp at the Boys and Girls Club that I grew up in. It's actually now Isaiah Thomas Court is where the boxing gym used to be. And so we're going to be able to affect change. Hopefully we're going to be able to affect change. And a bunch of kids will be able to come in and say, oh, yeah, basketball is what got me here, but that's not all we learned.
Bigger than basketball.
It's real.
You're an example of it.
Appreciate that.
The Jeremy Mills Podcast. We'll see you next time.